Well, howdy YouTube, Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. Today we're going to play around with XCP-NG some more. You guys seem to really love these server videos, and I really like XCP-NG. Now today we're going to do something a little scary. I know it's not Halloween, it's already November. In fact, next week it's going to be Thanksgiving in the United States. Can you believe it? And I got a lot to be thankful for this year, so it's going to be a special Thanksgiving. One of the thanks I have is to all the people that are subscribed. We're very close to 4,000 subscribers, and that means an awful lot to me. If you'd have told me 2 years ago 4,000 people would be interested in watching my videos, I would have said you need to have psychological evaluation done on you. Oh well, I was wrong, and thank you all so much. I want you to know how much I appreciate it. It can be a bit of a drudge to have to think of new ideas for videos, and you guys keep coming back for more, and I want you to know how much I appreciate it. Anyway, what we're going to do today is we're going to try and update our XCP-NG server. I'm currently running version 7.5. We're going to upgrade it to 7.6, and then we're going to make sure that our Zen Orchestra setup still works, and then we're also going to change the IP address, and I'm going to show you the easy way to do it. Well, easier than editing Ubuntu. I'm going to show you how to get an IP address that you want for your Zen Orchestra to get the same IP address every time. So enough of me blabbering on. Let's get to the video right now and see how I did. And all right, so we're going to power on this IBM server, and then we're going to see if we can't boot off of the I've already got 7.5 of XCP installed on this machine, but I want to upgrade it to 7.6. Now the instructions tell me what I need to do is boot off of the 7.6 USB key and then attempt to do the install or upgrade from there. So that's what we're going to try to do. So I think it's going to be F12 is what we use to go into the boot selection screen. Alright, so we'll hit F12 and boot off of the USB storage. Now there is an install, so I'm assuming I'm going to select the install. Now if I foobar this server, it's no big deal. I can recreate it. It's a lab server, so just putting an XCP on there to test it. So hopefully when we go into this setup off this USB key, it will see that we already have a Zen installed and we'll simply upgrade it. That's my hope anyway. That's why we're doing it live here. Well, live as in recorded live. I know it's pretty verbose when Zen boots up, but I like all that information. I don't know why. That's one of the things I really like about Linux operating systems. So they give you a lot of detail whether you want it or not, but I don't mind seeing all that scroll by. So now I'm actually having to do this in a Windows 7 virtual machine because Windows 10 now has been updated, and they've done something to Internet Explorer that broke the ActiveX control in Internet Explorer under Windows 10 to where it no longer works with my KVM on my IBM or on my Dells. Alright, so what I have to do is now go into a virtual machine with Windows 7 and use that version of Internet Explorer 11 to get everything to work, so no big deal. Okay, so we're going to use a US keyboard map. And we'll tell, okay, it says this tool can be used to install or upgrade XCP-NG on your system or restore your server from a backup. Installing XCP-NG will erase all data on the disk you selected for use. Okay, so hopefully it'll let me know I can upgrade it. So we'll click OK here, or we'll hit OK. Now, okay, it's going out and checking for existing products. Now keep in mind, I've never done this before, but Tom over at Lawrence Systems says it can be done, so I will assume he knows what he's talking about. You should read this, but I'll accept the EULA. And there it is. It says one or more existing product installations that can be upgraded have been detected. What would you like to do? And I want to upgrade XCP-NG 7.5.0. So I'm going to select that and tell it OK. And it says the installer needs to create a backup of your existing install. This will erase all data currently on the backup partition and that's fine. I'm going to tell it OK to continue. And we're going to install from local media and tell it OK. I'm going to skip the verification, and it's collected all the information required. This installation will be performed over XCP-NG 7.5.0, preserving existing virtual machines in your storage repository. So I'm going to install it. It's backing up. That's a good sign. I really, over the past couple of months or few months, have really learned to love XCP-NG. I have had, I'm going to do a whole separate video on converting Hyper-V virtual machines over to XCP. I got to tell you, it's much easier to do it with VMware than it is for XCP. But I have learned quite a few clues about how to convert a Windows Hyper-V virtual machine over to XCP-NG. It can be done in certain circumstances, but not very well, not very easily. It's not trivial, as they say. It can be complicated and convoluted, but I'll do a whole video around that. Alright, so the backup completed. It took about 3 minutes, and now it's installing from XCP-NG, so we'll see if this part is successful. I was hoping it would have more verbosity on the screen, but it doesn't, so we'll stay here a minute or two and see if it pops up anything that I need to be aware of. Now, I've already done the Zen Orchestra install on a virtual machine, so hopefully that version will still work with this version of XCP-NG. I'm assuming it will. But this is why we do lab setups. So, you know, if you've got the equipment and the time, and you can't afford or don't like Microsoft products for whatever reason, XCP-NG is a good alternative, as is VMware. I've had really good luck with the virtual machines under XCP-NG, and I'm speaking of Windows virtual machines. They seem to run just fine, albeit we have an issue with the tools for XCP-NG, but I'm doing some research on that as well. But speed-wise, as far as data transfer goes, in a virtual machine, both Windows 7 and Windows 10, I'm still getting 100 megabytes transfer speed across the network, so that's a good thing. Now, this XCP-NG, it has the operating system is installed on 2 SAS drives in a RAID 1 array, and then I have an SSD drive in here, one that Sasha donated months back, a 1 terabyte SSD for the VMs to be housed on. And eventually, and we have shared storage with all of these hypervisors, whether it be Hyper-V, whether it be ESXi or XCP. I have iSCSI shares available to all those servers, so it makes it easier to move virtual machines around, just having shared storage. Alright, we're going to let this run. I'll come back when something interesting changes. Alright, so it looks like the install is complete. That took about 4 minutes, so it's asking if we want to install any supplemental packs, and we're going to tell it no. And hopefully it'll complete the installation. Now this process before has taken a couple of minutes to get through as well. I assume it's writing the bootloader and that kind of thing and moving files around, so I'm not going to sit here on this screen either. We'll come back when something changes. Alright, so that completed as well. Again, it took a couple of minutes to do that, and now it says it's ready to reboot. So normally what you do at this point is remove the USB key and then reboot, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave that in there, and I'm going to reboot, tell it OK, and then it'll go through the reboot cycle, and I will press F12 to boot off the internal hard drive next time it boots up. So we'll let it go ahead and shut down and restart, and I'll come back to the video. I'll bring the video back up when something important happens. There it is. We'll press F12, and we're going to boot off of hard disk 0. Hit enter. And hopefully, if we're lucky, it says XCP-NG. I'm going to assume that's the new version. There were a couple other options on the boot menu, but we'll just select the default one, and hopefully we will get a working Zen server. This is a good sign. Alright, so I've connected up to the XCP-NG center, and I'm going to go ahead and connect up to this server. See if it lets us log on. It says this version of XCP-NG Center is out of date and cannot connect to that. You can get a compatible version from the following location. So let's click there. And we're going to, it brings up a web browser window. So I'll let you see what it brought up there. And we're going to download the new XCP-NG server. Or center, I'm sorry. And I'm going to go ahead and save that to my downloads. We will close this one. We will go to our downloads. And we will install the new version. Hopefully this will work. So I'm going to accept the EULA and install. And hopefully it will do an upgrade. Okay, it says it's done. Let's go back to my desktop now. Close that window. And let's see, where did it put the icon? Right here. Alright, now let's see if we're successful in connecting. One more time. I like how they have everything all together. I'm going to skip the help check for now. And it looks like, yeah, it looks like my XCP is there. We'll check all the tabs here. Make sure everything still appears to be normal. Yeah, there's my gigabit network card, my 10 gigabit card. I've got my console back. I've got my performance stats, I've got users, etc., and it looks like all of my machines are here. Now the next thing I want to do is go ahead and start up Zen Orchestra. So we'll come, this is my Zen Orchestra server, so we'll come here to the console, and we'll go ahead and start it, and then I'm going to see if we can get into Zen Orchestra. Take you along for the ride, why not? Okay, so it appears it's up. I'm going to go ahead and log in, make sure the IP address hasn't changed, and we're going to address the IP address on here as well, because right now it's using DHCP, which is fine, but I don't want it long-term using that IP address of 5.58. I want to give it a different one. Okay, so we've got the Zen Orchestra up and running as well. Let's go see if we can log into it. So there's my Zen Orchestra. Let's see if I can sign in. And not now here. Let's go ahead and go to host and see if I can bring up my host, and I can. And it looks like everything's there. I've got 16 processors, I've got 47 gig of RAM, I got 6 network cards, and I've got 6 storage locations. You go to the stats, and it looks like we're getting stats. We have our console available, networking, storage. It shows I have a patch out here. Tool used for managing Zen Guest. We're going to go ahead and do all patches. We'll do that a little bit later. My logs are there, and then my advanced information. Now let's see if it shows me. There it is right there. The version under advanced is 7.6.0. So I know I have an updated version of Zen, and Zen Orchestra seems to be working just fine. So that's good. Now the only problem I have now with Zen Orchestra is I don't want it using that 58 IP address. So I'm going to go ahead and sign out of Zen Orchestra, and I'm going to come up here to my XCP-NG center, and I'm going to go ahead and shut down that Zen Orchestra machine. The first thing I want to do though is see if I can get the MAC address, and there it is. There's the MAC address. I'm going to need that for when I'm going to set up a DHCP reservation on my DHCP server so that this machine gets an IP address, a hard-coded IP address, the same one every time. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and shut down the Zen Orchestra. And it is now powered off. I'm going to go to Properties, and I'm going to grab this MAC address, and I'm going to copy it. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my domain controller, my MCS DC01, and I'm going to go into DHCP, and I'm going to make a reservation. I know I want to reserve an IP address of 11 for this machine, for the Zen Orchestra. I find this is probably going to be a lot easier to do than trying to hard code an IP address into Ubuntu 18.04. I did a little research on what the steps are required to do that, and it is truly a pain in the rear end. So I had a subscriber suggest that I just do a DHCP reservation, and I could have thought of that myself but did not. But now I have, and so thank you. And so we'll go into our DHCP server. Alright, we'll expand this out. And I'm going to go here to my IPv4 and the scope, and then I'm going to go to reservations, and I'm going to do a new reservation. So this will be I forgot what we named this machine. So I'm going to call it MCS-Orchestra XL Zen Orchestra, and just leave it at that. I want to reserve the IP address of 11, and I'm going to paste that MAC address in here, but I need to get rid of the colons because Microsoft doesn't like these colons in here. Move my mouse out of the way so I don't delete the wrong thing. And then down here we'll just do Zen Orchestra, and we'll go ahead and add it, and then I'll close it. So there we go, we've got our reservation in there. Now let's go ahead and come back to XCP-NG, and this time we'll go ahead and start up the Zen Orchestra virtual machine again. Let it boot, and we'll see if it gets its new IP address. And then we'll see if we can connect to it again. Fun, fun, fun we're having today. So as you can see, by the once you start getting into XCP-NG, it's easy to use. I mean, I've had little to no trouble on using XCP, and that's why I'm seriously looking at it instead of Hyper-V moving forward, but my mind will change as it often does. Alright, let's go ahead and log in at the console and see if I get a new IP address. And if it's the correct one, nope, it shows it's using 5.8. Unless I've got the wrong, let's do ifconfig and make sure that MAC address is correct. Now, I don't see the MAC address here. Alright, so you can see here now we clearly have an IP address of 5.11. But what was really weird is normally you would use this MAC address right here, and you would do a DHCP reservation under Windows or under your DHCP server. The problem is, if I use that MAC address, it does not see this machine, or it does not get the right IP address. So what I did was I let the machine get its own lease. It was a 29 lease, and then I copied the MAC address that was in there, and I'll show you what it ended up being. So if you right click on this and go to properties, this long string right here is what the MAC address ended up being. I have no idea why either Ubuntu does that or XCP-NG, but that is a strange oddity there. So I just copied the old reservation MAC address and put it into a reservation, and it appears to have worked very well. But I just wanted to share that with you. These are some of the oddities you're going to run across when you do networking. It should not happen that way, and hopefully somebody will chime in as to why that that worked that way. I have no idea why it did, but let's open a browser and see if we can't get it to come up now on the new IP address. So, and it looks like it is working. Make sure I can log in. And let's go to host and make sure we can connect. And yes, there it is. There's our host. Let's see if we can see our VMs. And we have to change the filter to none. And so there's my virtual machines that I have in there. We'll go back to our host again. And go back to stats. And we're getting stats, our console connection, our networking. Very good. Storage. Patches, which I haven't done yet, and advanced, and yes, it's on 7.6, and so it all looks well with the world. Success. Now, one of the nice things about Zen Orchestra is that you can manage your patches with your with their interface. Makes it easier. So there's one patch here, XCP-NG Manager, the tool used for managing ZenGuest. So if I go up here to install all patches, it's going to warn you. It's going to install the patch on this host only. This is not the recommended way. Go to the pool patch view and follow the instructions there. If you're sure about this, you can continue anyway. I'm going to go ahead and go to the pool. And you'll see here that it sees MCS IBM XCP has one missing patch. I'm going to install all patches here. I could have done that there as well. But I guess what they're wanting you to do is update all your servers at one time. Okay, so now there are no patches detected. I'm going to go back home and go to my host. And you'll see now that all the patches, the host is up to date. So all is well with the world. So another good reason to use Zen Orchestra. So I'm really intrigued by XCP-NG, and like I said, Tom over at Lawrence Systems has been using it to run his business, and he uses it for clients. And if you don't like the licensing fees of Microsoft for their hypervisor, they do have a free hypervisor, so there are ways around it, but I just wanted to give XCP-NG the benefit of the doubt, as they say. So that's why I've set it up here in my lab, and it's fun to play around with this stuff. And I really like some of the features of XCP, and I want to do a whole bunch of more videos concerning XCP. I want to show you how to set up a virtual machine, what some of the pitfalls and problems you're going to have. I want to show you how to update your drivers under Windows for the XCP-NG tools, because there is a problem with XCP and Zen Server. Initially, when XCP came out, they included the Zen Server tools, but there's a problem with that because those are not open source and they cannot legally distribute them. So they pulled them out, and they're working on their own set of tools. But the whole reason I installed Zen Orchestra and went through all that is because there is a way under Zen Orchestra to tell Microsoft Update to install the tools as part of its Windows Update package. Now, I have yet to get that to work. But I'll do a whole video on that and what I had to do to get it to work. And that's another reason I upgraded to 7.6 of XCP. I want to make sure I'm on a current version, etc. Normally in a production environment, you would wait until the version you're going to update to has been fully tested and vetted. But it's a lab here, and so if I lose everything on there, it's no big deal. But again, in upcoming videos, I'll show you how I added storage. I'll show you how to add an iSCSI share. I'm not a big fan of NFS, but I can even show you how to do an NFS share. And then we're going to do deep dives into how to convert Hyper-V machines over to Zen or over to XCP. And again, I will prepare you now, it is not for the faint of heart. There are a lot of steps involved, and it has taken me weeks and days and weeks to figure out how to do that. I'm going to tell you right now, I have had zero success with converting a Hyper-V Generation 2 machine over to XCP. But for that matter, I've had trouble doing that with ESXi as well. So if you've got a lot of version 2 or Gen 2 versions of Hyper-V machines, I still haven't found a way to convert those effectively. And most of the comments I get from people are, you might as well just reinstall from scratch. Try to do a backup of the existing system and then create your new virtual machine and then restore your data. That's not feasible in a lot of instances for me, but you know, it might work for some people. But we're going to cover that, like I said, in some upcoming videos. Now, the other reason I've installed Zen Orchestra and I've gone with XCP is because the server that's behind me right now is one that was donated back a few months ago, and it's my most powerful Dell server here. It has the 5670 processors in it. So I'm moving all my production stuff over to that server. And then this Friday we're actually going to, when I initially set up my rack, I made it too long and the rails for the Dells don't fit. So I need to shorten it, make it a little bit smaller so those Dell rack rails will fit in there. Then that unit's going to go into the rack. The production unit is going to come out here, and I'm going to install XCP-NG on there as well, so that I can do, I can have 2 XCP servers, so I can do migrations, set up failover clusters, that kind of thing. I'm going to experiment with a bunch of stuff and just run this thing long term so that I can determine whether or not moving forward, like for next year, if I want to start recommending this as a hypervisor, it'll save my customers a lot on licensing costs, and if it works well, there's no reason not to use it. I could go ESXi, you know, VMware, but I don't like the VMware ecosystem. I'm just not a big fan of it. It works well, but look, Zen Orchestra is compared to VMware vSphere, their little version of Orchestra, infinitely simpler to set up on XCP than it is on ESXi. So that's one of the reasons I like XCP-NG over ESXi. Now, so far using XCP, and I won't know this again, I have to do this long term. This is not one of those things where I set up a YouTube video and we go on about our happy way and assume everything's going to work great. I test, and retest, and that's why I want to have 2 of these servers up and running so I can put it through its paces. Immediately upon initial use, I've been using XCP a couple of months now. I don't see any deal killers. In fact, it does some things. I'm used to the way Hyper-V does things and how to move machines around. I haven't figured that out under XCP yet, but I'm assured by others that that can be done easily. And I'll tell you, their networking is easy to set up. Shared storage is easy to set up. It's a lot easier than ESXi. And so far, I'm very pleased with XCP. Time will tell. Now, I've played around with Proxmox as well. The problem I have with Proxmox is it would seem like anytime I updated it, it became unstable. So I kind of shied away from that. Now, this is the first update I've done on XCP from 7.5 to 7.6, and I had 0 trouble with it. But now I'm going to spin up some virtual machines and put it through its paces and test. And there's also a machine on there that I've actually converted over from Hyper-V that I'm going to run on XCP and long term see how it does. So if you guys want to come along for this ride, great. We'll learn as we go, and any comments you can give down in the comments section if you're using XCP and you've got some tips and tricks, please let me know. I love to share that kind of information with everybody. So there you go, all done. We've upgraded our XCP from 7.5 to 7.6. We've verified that Zen Orchestra works with this version of it. We have hard-coded through a DHCP reservation. Thank you to that subscriber who told me that. So a special shout out to Christopher Leslie for recommending that DHCP reservation. It saved me a lot of time rather than having to go through the Ubuntu configuration. The complaint with the Ubuntu was when you modify the file for networking, it has to be in a specific. You can't use a tab key in Nano when you're editing that file. That was a mistake I made. That's why I can never get it to work. You have to have the exact number of spaces formatting in that configuration file. I will, if I can remember it, I'll post a link to how to configure a network adapter under Ubuntu. But Christopher had that brilliant suggestion. I don't know why I didn't think about it. Brain fart of going out and doing a DHCP reservation. That's exactly what I did. And as you saw, I had trouble with that as well, but we overcame it. But I'd like to know, Christopher, if you know, why is it showing up the MAC address like that in Windows for that Ubuntu server. I have no clue. Or if anybody else has a clue as to why it works that way, let me know. I'd be interested to know. But again, shout out to Christopher Leslie. Thanks for that hint. So there you go, YouTube. We hope you found the video entertaining and informative as always. And yes, I did take a short break. I just needed a break from everything for a while to get my head cleared up, and we've got a lot of projects going on with our clients right now, so I'll try to do these videos as I can. But again, I've told you before, I don't want to do a video unless I am inspired to do one. And now, working around with Zen and XCP, I've been inspired again and want to do some more videos. I still have more videos coming up on Plex. I'm working on them. And I'm going to do another review on the TiVo, so you can have that to look forward. So anyway, donate if you're so inclined. We take PayPal, we take Patreon. We're getting closer to our Patreon goal every day. And I want to do a special shout out to everybody. We're almost at 4,000 subscribers. I know it's not a lot, but it's a lot to me. You know, the fact that 4,000 people want to come and see this ugly mug and have me tell you stories just kind of is, you know, kind of shocks me. So thank you. Make sure you come back and see us again. We got more great content coming. Leave your comments down in the comments section. Smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. We'd like to see you come back. And please don't forget that we will see you and 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 you on the other side.